pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the meeting with public comment. Is there any public comment? Yes, sir. Go to the podium, please.
Oh, sure. Thank you for allowing me a few moments to speak to the commissioners. Good morning. My name is Dennis Nelson. I'm here representing the Three Forks Rural Fire District and Fire Department. Obviously, I think you gentlemen and ladies are well aware that we handle the south half of Broadwater County and the subdivisions down in that area for fire protection. Those fire department regs were written any number of years ago, handling all of the various needs and what have you for water supply, roads, accesses, etc. We've got a problem down there, and it's a pretty serious one. One of the main concerns we have, obviously, is this firefighter safety, right along with the safety of the inhabitants in the subdivision. One specific subdivision right now only has one usable access egress for fire protection, for emergency vehicles, for sheriff, whatever. This is due to a number of things. The main reason right now is that there's a road closure on the west side of Mountain View subdivision that has closed off a private road. It is a private road. It is not a county road either in Jefferson County or Broadwater County, but it is a private road that's been closed off. That road concessions were made, whatever they were years ago, that road would be accessible for fire protection, for emergency services. Being now it's closed off, it's presented a dangerous situation for our firefighters going into that subdivision. Keep in mind, that's a lightning alley out there with a whole lot of grass fire potential. You know what happened a couple of weeks ago with the two helicopters up on Milligan Canyon. If that fire had been down in the bottom down there, why, we might have been able to catch it up here around Toston someplace. With all of that being said, what I'd like the county commissioners to do, along with county planning, with your road engineer, with your county attorney, would be to arrange for a sit down, not only with you folks, but also with the fire department. The fire district is more than willing to sit down and help you, because we do need to keep our firefighters' safety. We'd like to solve this problem. We need a second access in and out of that subdivision, and right now I'm not sure how we're going to get it. All of that being said, and obviously we're going to continue to provide fire protection for that subdivision. That's without a question. However, because of the unsafe situation, we are going to direct our firefighters, whether they be the incident commanders, the fire chief, the truck bosses go in on any particular instance up there. We're going to direct them that it's up to their discretion. If they feel that they can safely go in and handle an incident, whether it be a garage in December that's on fire or a blazing grass fire in July and August, we're going to leave it up to their discretion, and if they have to pull out, they will be directed to pull out. So we're asking you folks to please sit down and realize just how serious this situation is for not only our firefighter safety, but also the inhabitants within that subdivision. And the purpose of my stop here today, or my presentation, is just to get it officially on the record that this is a serious problem, and we're asking Broadwater County to please address it as quickly as you possibly can, and let's come up with a solution on it. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes.
Well, yes, name is Alan Wright, and I just have a quick, up on the upper end of Indian Creek above the lime plant, the road that's up there. I'd like to find out if there is a maintenance schedule for that, or if it's been taken off of any road maintenance repairs, so that I can then make my decisions what needs to be done. The road is, it's in need of repair. If nothing else, you can grade some topsoil, put in the holes for a while, But, the road just needs to be looked at for maintenance, that's all. Just, so, if somebody'd like to go up there and take a drive, Pothole Alley, you can take a drive. Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Can I ask a question, Mike?
Yes.
Mary, we went over a list of roads to be worked on.
Right, yes,
Is
so, yeah.
that's part of that, right?
Yeah, Indian Creek, that part of Indian Creek is part of it, Alan. It's on my list for the fall. I sat down with the road foreman last week and Daryl and went through the list of projects that we have to do this fall, and I do want them to fix that. So that will be done.
This would be nice,
That will be done.
because the potholes are so bad now, you cannot stay on the road and not hit a pothole. And it wouldn't hurt to bring some dirt with you, some fill, because it hasn't been done for 20 years,
That's part of our plan, Alan.
so. But I would like to know, if you're not gonna make it, let me know,
We will make it.
so that I can make provisions.
We'll make it up there.
I mean, there's-
Okay, hey, we can't go back and forth between each other.
Oh.
Okay. We got it, thank you.
Any other public comment?
My name's Josh Shively, and I'm coming. I actually live, the road in which Denny was referring to is actually, it was closed. It falls across my property, which is actually in Jefferson County. And it's been a little bit of it's been interesting. I've got probably 80 to 120 hours in research into easements, both in Broadwater and then in Jefferson County. There were some, just across the county line in Jefferson County, that's an agricultural zoning district. It's the Boulder, the Boulder Valley, Milligan Canyon Agricultural Zoning District. Nothing was to be developed in anything less than 640 acres. In 2007, I believe, Bernie Jones purchased some property out there, did some family transfers, broke up 320s, a 40, a 60, and 280s, and then sold them through the family transfer, broke them up through family transfer and then distributed them into development. I ended up with one of the 20-acre pieces. There was some serious miscommunication, lack of clarification in regards to how that was split up and then how the easements and the road access was. The road it's not been closed, they're gates, so I'm not legally allowed to prevent any traffic. There's only one grant of easement that we can find. I spend quite a bit of time with county planner in Jefferson County, as well as some in Broadwater, county attorneys, the original surveyor that did all the surveying for Mountain Vista, Rolling Glen, the roads that we're talking about. I've had my own attorney look into it quite a lot, and the reason that the gates are up is due to a culvert. There's a 6.5 foot, 7 foot concrete flue, which was actually at one point a concrete flue that belonged to Broadwater County. It was pulled out and rejected. These people picked it up and put it in there across, underneath the road prior to me buying the property. It's since washed out and is in pretty rough shape. Well, in going through the process of figuring out how I was going to fix it and what needed to be done, all this easement stuff came to light. And there's a substantial liability with having that on my property. And it's recorded as a private easement, it's private property, it's marked on both sides. It seems like there's been some miscommunication, from near as I can tell, with the subdivision, Mountain Vista, and that being a possibility for a secondary access. I can't find any proof, me or anyone that I've worked with, find any proof that was ever, none of it was ever in writing on our end anyway. There would have had to have been a grant of easement of sorts, and that's been able to be produced. My concern as a property owner, I got my own issues that I'm dealing with. We're going through all the processes of lawyer to lawyer and sorting out easement stuff already. But it's been brought up that could be turned into a secondary easement, and that would be a bad situation if that was to be looked at, I think. Just because the property wasn't sold as that being a possibility, and or it ever being a public road. So I think I've probably made my concerns clear.
Are you located in Jefferson County? One side of the fence is Jefferson County, where the road is actually Jefferson County. The other
Yep.
side of the fence is Broadwater County, right?
That's correct, and it's tricky because Yeah, my property line is actually the boundary between Broadwater and Jefferson County. It's the county line. And so the road, the one that's got the gates across it with the faulty culvert, has got, it's in Jefferson County. The subdivision is in Broadwater County. And there was a lot that went on, and it's tricky. There's Shoddy Springs Road. If you look at it, are you guys familiar somewhat with the area? Okay, so you're aware of Wheatland Road, and then there's Shoddy Springs Road that comes off of Jefferson, and it dropped into what was Dunbar Road. Those were farm roads. They'd been in for forever, since the early 1900s. Earliest I can see, as far as a grant of easement on any of those roads, was 1929, I think May 8th. But they'd been there for a long time. Dunbar was in, I think, was initially when Dixon had that subdivision, was gonna be the secondary easement. And then it was tore out and then farmed over, and that kinda went away. So I don't know, there's a lot to be kinda cleared up, I guess, clearly, but I wanted to be known that I was concerned of any possibility of that being turned into a secondary egress or ingress for the subdivision, just.
Okay, so there is one granted easement right now, correct?
It is, it's for Dennis
For
Ron,
Dennis Ron.
for a farmer,
Right.
yep.
So
For his
is that
agricultural
gonna
purpose
stay, I guess my question is that always gonna stay that way?
We're kind of in that, it's tricky, in order for, and honestly, because of the extent in which the attorneys are involved, I can't comment on it too much. There's some negotiation in process or negotiation in taking place that has gotta be sorted out first.
So is it your intent to remove that road at some point if you can?
It just depends. I'm not really sure. It kind of comes down to what we can come up, because I clearly haven't got a problem with farmers and ranchers doing their thing. I've got a long-standing agricultural background, fully aware of that was all taking place while I was out there. I bought out there because it was an agricultural zoning district. I was 24 years old. You look at the covenants, you look at the way it was platted, you look at the zoning. I didn't look into it any further. I wasn't aware of what family transfer was, or the ramifications, or the review process of that, which it sounds like can be handled differently from county to county. It really just comes down to a liability issue. And as of now, it wasn't put in correctly, so it's not, it needs to be probably 20 feet longer, because surprisingly enough, we get a fair amount of wash out there. I've got, that 6-foot culvert will fill to the point that it's completely buried, and you can't see the culvert anymore, and so it's washed out, and because it was, I think in the process of being torn out the first time or reinstalled, the seams on the culvert flue, the concrete flue were cracked and broken, so it actually washes through and around the culvert. So the whole thing's pretty unstable, and actually the farmer, there were a couple of them, they went through and they put one cable with hooks on the top of the culvert holding it together. If you took that cable off, the 6-foot section would fall into the field, and you'd have about an 8-foot roadway with a 15-foot drop. It's a type of situation, it's not a matter of somebody's gonna run off the road and dent up their car. They're gonna roll probably a minimum of twice and be upside down. It's pretty dangerous, and it's very real. So I don't know, that's a difficult question to answer. It kinda depends. There was a lot of farming taking place in that country prior to that road being upgraded to what it is now. And there was no maintenance schedule recorded. That's just it. It's tricky. I'm 100% for family transfer. I think it's definitely got its place, but the parameters that are set around it are unfortunately.
So the folks at Shoddy Springs now have to exit out through Mountain View, is that correct?
They don't have to. That's a choice that they've chosen.
Okay.
Yeah.
You'd still allow them to exit?
It's just gates. It's all it is. It's tricky with all the development the Broadwater County has seen in that edge of the county. There's a lot of traffic out there, and like I say, there's on both ends of the road. There are private property, no trespassing, private road, privately maintained. It's clearly marked, but you get a lot of traffic, a lot of people driving, and so the purpose of the gates was really just to try to limit that, mitigate the risk as much as possible. And I've got a legal obligation. I'd be found 100% negligent if I was to allow continued traffic over that culvert in the condition that it's in. I've never been in a lawsuit. I just steer clear one.
Are you open to some discussions for later on? I mean, because I can see that, we've got a lot more to talk about
Yeah.
than what we have time to hear this morning.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Are you talking after the meeting today, or just
later on,
down the road?
because-
That's fine, yeah.
So, in your research for these easements, did you look into Dunbar Road at all
I did quite a
in
bit.
Broadwater County?
Yeah, there's been a fair amount of work done in regards to into Dunbar Road,
So-
into Dunbar, and then there's also a 60-foot easement. And why, I'm not, there's a lot of things that took place, I'm sure, back in the day. Typically, my understanding is when you'll have a county easement, which was common on section lines, and at least on some county lines, it'd be split between counties. This county line's got a power line that actually runs right down the line. I don't know if that was the reason, but instead of 30 and 30 on Broadwater and Jefferson, from everything I've been able to find, and the surveyor that I had, that actually is from Townsend here, that did a lot of that work, what she could turn up, it shows all of the 60-foot county easement in Broadwater County. But yeah, we found, it seems as though Dunbar Road was abandoned, but not the easement.
Was Dunbar abandoned or was it closed?
Sorry, we went through this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these are questions, this is, all I can do is regurgitate what I found. I can't prove that it's, or guarantee that it's correct, but, it's somewhat of a gray area. Cause I've heard both. I've heard that the easement still stands, it was never abandoned or closed. I've heard that the road was closed, and then I've heard that the road was abandoned, which are clearly two different things. It seems as though there's question whether or not, it was closed, because they farmed over it, but whether there was legal right to do so remains yet to be seen, I think.
Can you spell your last name for me, Josh?
It's SHIVELY.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Conkey, Broadwater County DES. I'd like to address this issue. It's very important for firefighters to have an access to get out. It's really critical. And the Three Forks Rural Fire District has a really good concern. There's at times we have some wildland fires, grass fires, that you need a way to get out. As well as citizens need a way to evacuate, as our emergency vehicles need to come and go. I can't speak with the Sheriff's Office, but it's very important that we take this issue serious and address this issue. Access. Thank you.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Diane Kohlberg, and I live in Mountain Vista subdivision. And I'm actually probably a majority landowner in that subdivision. And I bought it from Joe Dixon, bought out his declarant rights and everything. So I just wanted to let you know that we would really love to see something happen here, because we do have these guys running through the subdivision on this road that we can barely maintain ourselves. That, it's washboard a lot of the way, and it can't be fun for them dragging these trailers down. And pretty soon they're going to be shipping cattle, and they're going to be taking their semis through the subdivision. And there's not a lot of people in the subdivision yet, but there's still families. There's kids running around, and there's still some safety there too. And like I said, we can barely afford to manage this road ourselves. And we just got it up to where we could get the mail lady to come in again. So, and now it's bad again. And so you can see it's just a snowball effect. And we don't want to cut anybody off, and we can't, as far as, this subdivision dedicated the road to the public. I don't know what kind of regulations we can put on it. We put a speed limit and all of those things, but I think we can all agree that it's not real safe to have the big trucks and everybody, and they don't want to come through there. And I think we'd all just like to see a resolution and make everybody, and I guess we understand, or at least I understand, there is no easement on to Josh's Road that we have. There's no secondary easement. For some reason, this subdivision was approved with only one legal access. I'm not sure how that happened, but for 88 lots, there's only one access. And that's an interesting issue in itself. From what I understand, that Dunbar Road was never actually a county easement. And there's an easement on the plat. The surveyor didn't know why that it was on there, but she couldn't find any documentation that it was ever an actual county road. But like I said, I think if we could get on your agenda and really present this or get something figured out, that would be really great. We would all like to see a resolution. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will move on to our 10:15 public hearing to request distribution of Bridge Road Safety Accountability Program funds. So we will close the commission meeting and open the public hearing for the request for distribution of Bridge Road Safety and Accountability Program funds. Mary?
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
I have
morning.
for you here a resolution for the disbursement of the Bridge and Road Safety Accountability Act funds.
Thanks, Mary.
You got- There you go. Would you like me to read this?
Yes, please.
All right, so this is titled, "A Resolution Requesting Distribution of Bridge and Road Safety and Accountability Program Funds." Whereas the Bridge and Road Safety and Accountability account requires the Montana Department of Transportation to allocate accrued funds to cities, towns, counties, and consolidated city-county governments for construction, reconstruction, maintenance, and repair of rural roads, city or town streets and alleys, bridges, or roads and streets that the city, town, county, or consolidated city-county government has the responsibility to maintain. And whereas a city, town, county, or consolidated city-county government that requests funds under the Bridge and Road Safety and Accountability account must match each $20 requested with $1 of local government matching funds. And whereas a city, town, county, or consolidated city-county government requesting distribution of allocated funds may make such a request to the Department of Transportation between March 1st and November 1st of the year the funds were allocated. And whereas the project to be funded is installation and replacement of culverts, an increase in road elevations in the Toston Northwest project area, and whereas the local match for the allocated funds has been budgeted from the road fund. Therefore, now it be resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Broadwater County, Montana, that 1. Broadwater County requests distribution of its share of the allocated bridge and road safety and accountability funds to be used for the projects identified herein. 2. That the Commission hereby empowers and authorizes the Broadwater County Public Works Director to execute such further documents as may be necessary to facilitate the distribution of said funds.
Is there any public comment?
What, are we running out of money?
What's that?
Are they running out of money for that? The
No.
roads and stuff?
No, BARSA is Montana Department of Transportation. These are fuel tax monies. So it's money that the counties and cities get from state government for the fuel tax. So this is the fuel tax distribution. And those funds have to be allocated to a specific project or projects. So that's the purpose of this, is to identify which project it's going to.
Yes, Al?
So I guess, like, could you give me an example of what a project would be?
This particular project is for the installation and replacement of culverts and increasing the road elevation in the Toston Northwest area. So this would be Lone Mountain Road, Spikes Lane, Highway 437, Hosfeld Lane, and Muddy Lane. That was subject to all the flooding 2 years ago. So what we'd like to do is take the money from BARSA and dedicate it towards some work that we're doing there.
And so that's a 20-to-1 ratio, to where if I understood what you said there?
Yes, yes.
Any other public comment? Okay, we will close the hearing and reopen the commission meeting for a decision to request distribution of bridge, road, safety, and accountability funds.
Mike, it might help with some of the questions that were had is, why are we going through this process? To explain that for the public so that they understand why this process is different than how we usually do things for maintenance funds.
This money came from the increase in the gas fuel taxes, I believe, 2 years ago. Each county's given a certain amount of money depending on the amount of roads they have and then their road base. And then this is other allocated funds that you have to request from the DOT, I believe it is. And then if you don't request those funds through this access, then those funds go back to the state and then they can go to a different county. So if you don't use your funds through a county system, then they go back. And you can also, above and beyond this project, if your project comes in less than the money that you're getting, then that money can be used for other road maintenance areas. So basically it's a way to give counties more money for road maintenance. It started out, I believe, at 10%. The highway patrol ended up taking 5%, and somebody else I think we ended up getting like 4% of what we were supposed to get. So the legislature divvied up some more. So that's where the money comes from and why the funds have to be allocated and requested.
So like each county then, the road fuel taxes that is collected to the state, they calculate each county, how much has been collected in each county, and then the county gets a percentage of that was collected
Yes.
to be applied to such a program as this.
Yep.
Either use it or lose it?
Yep. So every county pretty much uses it. I don't know why you would not use it.
Did I miss what the amount was? I apologize.
What?
I looked at it last night, it's a little over $48,000.
Yeah. Any other discussion? So we'll entertain a motion to approve the request.
So move.
Is there a second?
No, second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the request for distribution of Bridge Road Safety Accountability Funds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
I have my original from Mary if you want it.
So we'll go to our 10:30, Mary Hendrickson, Public Works Director, Restructure of Solid Waste and Road Bridge Administrative Assistant.
Thank you again, Commissioners. A couple of things I'm handing out to you is the job description that I put together. And some financial information. Did I give someone 2 copies of that? I did, Daryl.
You did.
Thank you. All right, so a couple of weeks ago, I'm sorry, and I don't recall the date for sure, you had given the approval to start the process to hire an admin assistant for the Public Works Department. And after kind of thinking about how things are going, what I really need, and looking at what's been happening at solid waste, And then talking to my solid waste board, they had determined and are in full support of combining, instead of having one more person, of combining an attendant position with my admin and also make them an equipment operator, and house that position up at the transfer station. So what you'll see in the job description is that it addresses the administrative duties as well as the operator duties. And what I foresee is, right now, I have 2 full-time operators at the transfer station. One of them drives the canister truck and hauls the canisters from our rural canister sites up to the transfer station. The other one operates the excavator and the loader, fills the transfer truck at the transfer station, and then drives that truck to Helena for disposal. What I have proposed is having, and I do have one site attendant that has been dedicated to the transfer station because we get a lot of traffic up there. So the job description will reflects those duties that I have proposed. The second page, the one-page document that I gave you, I went through and I looked at the costs associated with having one person for 35 hours a week at 52 weeks a year. So we're looking at a person with 1,400 hours per year. And then I went through and calculated the fringe associated with someone with 35 hours a week, and came up with a total wage plus benefits of $40,431.96. What I've determined is that person would be paid 60% from solid waste and 40% from roads, because what I was looking for is an administrative assistant that would do half-time roads, half-time solid waste. And I increased the solid waste because I would like someone available there to be able to operate the equipment at the transfer station when one or the other of my staff up there are out for some reason, whether it's vacation or sick leave. So I looked at what we've gotten from revenues from July 1st up to August 13th. And these are revenues from disposal charges at the transfer station itself. Debbie had given me a revenue report on revenues for disposal charges, and it did have some assessments in there, so I subtracted the assessment charges out of that. And from July 1st to August 13th, we've seen revenues from disposal charges as $15,337.99. So that's quite a bit in 2.5 months. I'm sorry, a month. That's just a month and a half. Oh boy, I mean, that should be September. I'm sorry. It is 2.5 months. Instead of August on your sheet, it should say July 1st to September 13th. So in 2.5 months, we've gotten over $15,000 in revenue just from people coming up to the transfer station. Then I went back and I looked at tipping fees with Tri-County Disposal versus Lewis and Clark County. From January 1st to August 31st of 2018, our total cost of tipping fees to Tri-County was $99,845.87. That same time period this year, 2019, our tipping fees were $77,921.22. So we've realized a savings of $21,924.65. Then I went back and I looked at savings specifically from since June 1st, since that's the day that we implemented the changes in canister site management. So from June 1st to August 31st of 2018, our total tipping fees were $44,234.10. Since we implemented that change on June 1st, our tipping fees went down to $29,753.10. So we've realized a savings. That difference is $14,481 right there in just tipping fees. And then I wanted to go then and look at fuel costs, what we've seen in fuel costs, if we've seen a reduction. So from June through August of 2018, our total fuel costs for those 3 months was $11,387.44. And this year, from June to August of 2019, our fuel costs were $8,585.83. So since we've implemented that change, we don't make as many trips to these rural canister sites as we have in the past. And we've seen a fuel savings of $2,801.61 in those 3 months. So if I combine the tipping fees, the savings in the tipping fees from June 1st to August 31st, along with the fuel savings from that same time period, we see a total savings of $17,282.61. And then when I add the revenue from disposal charges since July 1st, we have a savings plus revenue equal to $32,000 or $32,620.60. So what I have proposed here is the solid waste, if solid waste covers 60% of those wages. Like I said, we're looking at $24,259.18. And with the savings that we've seen to date, we've seen over $32,000 in savings and revenues combined. So
One thing I don't see reflected here, Mary, is the amount of assessments that we received. It's close to $4,000, is that right? As far as for like hang tags
yes.
that we've recovered from Department of Revenue.
Actually, and I didn't put, I'm in the process of putting that list together right now, Daryl, because I've got to get that information to Department of Revenue.
Right.
And I haven't had time. I have, I would say at least $4,000 right now. So my request to you today, my request to you today is for your approval to combine the admin assistant position with site attendant. That will also be an equipment operator position up at the transfer station. I'm proposing to house this position at the transfer station. We do have an office up there. They have access to the network, access to email, access to everything that I would need that individual to do. If there was a reason that I had to have that person come to the courthouse to do some research here, that would be, I would cover that at the transfer station. They would do that at a time when one or the other staff members are there. So, but we have seen, just looking at the revenues from disposal charges since July 1st. I didn't go back and look at June, but just since July 1st, because we have our attendant up there, what she's doing right now is she is checking people in, she is invoicing people, she's providing, some great assistance to people up there. So, and we brought in over $15,000 in the last 2.5 months. And the salary that I'm proposing is within the range of the classification for that position.
So Mary, your revenue for disposal charges, is that your construction waste, whatever people are hauling to the transfer station?
Yes, it's for the non-household waste that people are bringing in. and we have to send to the landfill.
Mary, I appreciate the spreadsheet you gave us. You really answered all my questions before I have a chance to ask them,
Good.
so thank you for that.
Good.
If this was two positions, Mary, rather than combining
Mm-hmm.
together, how much more would that be? Just, no, you can't give me a definite number.
I can't, I'm just trying to think of what it was that, you know, I had proposed 28 to 30, not to exceed 30 hours a week. At, I think we were looking at $14, $15 an hour for that. That would be, I can do the math in my head really quick, half time, 1,000 hours, $15,000.
Yeah.
As opposed to the 40 now because of the benefits.
Right.
But I definitely have the money in the roads budget for the 40% portion. And I do believe, you know, my projected revenue from disposal charges for non-household waste was $20,000 this year. And we are 3/4 of the way there in 2.5 months. So I do believe that we will continue to capture revenue, that we should have, in all honesty, we should have been receiving all along. But we hadn't until we had someone up there full-time that was actually doing the work to capture that. So I do believe that that position will more than pay for itself, just in the disposal charges. I mean, as we see right now with the savings and tipping fees and fuel costs, plus the revenue, you know, we've already exceeded what the solid waste portion of that position would be.
And anticipating the loan payment that we know we have coming up, and also this position here, you still feel that your budget can support that?
I do, because I did have excess, when I did my budget for solid waste this year, I did have a projected excess of funds after all of our expenditures were figured in. So I do. We'll be able to pay the deficit, make the ICAP loan payment, and still fund the department.
When we came up with this plan to create the Public Works position, our plan was to consolidate our resources so that we could actually bring them together. It was also to take 3 supervisory positions and create one. By adding an administrative assistant, we're still in the realm of saving a lot of money for the county. And it makes sense because Mary is paid above administrative assistant work. The other thing is one of our plans with combining those positions was to, again, share the resources versus building silos or building divisions. And then when we did hire Mary asked us for support and we gave it to her. So I think she's demonstrated that this is a sound plan, still continues to save the citizens money and streamlines the department, or departments.
And Wayne, did you have something?
Yeah, Dwayne Hall. I'd like to know what the cost of all these little buildings, man hours, structures, all of that stuff was. Is that in on this, or what is it?
No, that's not in on this.
See, that's the thing. You're showing a profit, but we've got a heck of a loss going with what you've done.
The total materials, I had not figured in wages yet, and I did report this to my solid waste board. The total material expenditure for all the changes, that's the signs, the gates, the locks, everything, the wood, was a little over $22,000.
For the labor and all?
No, I said I did not figure in wages to that.
See, that's
and I do understand that, but understand that we are sending less waste to the landfill because we are segregating the waste at the canister sites. We are sending people up to the transfer station that have waste that cannot go in these canisters. And, you know, the majority of people that I have talked to, and I get calls from time to time from folks that say, you know what, it's working great. They're glad that we've finally done something about it. So I'm encouraged by that. And we are seeing people at the transfer station that now it seems like everyone understands, you know, why we had to put this in place. And again, I do believe that we will take care of our deficit situation in short order.
Melinda?
You said you had a $15,000 savings for people going up to the dump, correct? Or whatever that was?
Those were revenue, that's not savings, that's actual revenue that we've
okay.
received.
Okay, so then you said you had to also then take some of that out to the other place, to Helen or whatever. So how much is the actual savings? Because you have to pay to take that in, correct? Or not
Right,
savings,
and
but in revenue.
we would pay that anyway.
Okay.
So I didn't look at wages, I
Okay.
looked at fuel.
Okay,
So, and last week we only made 2 trips to the Lewis and Clark County landfill. We've been making 3. Since June 1st, we've been making consistently 3 trips a week to Lewis and Clark County landfill, whereas this same time last year, we were making 5, 7, 8 trips a week to the landfill. So we have seen that savings, we've seen the savings reflected in our fuel costs for the last, from June to August, in 3 months, we saved about $2,800 just in fuel costs.
And also, I mean, you didn't figure in your equipment saving cost either.
Right.
You know, your wear and tear on your vehicles.
Right.
And, you know, maintenance and tires, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
That's not figured in that cost.
No, it's not.
So
But that comes out to about, you know, everything I looked at when I was going through this initially, my recollection is it's about $1.38 a mile is what the maintenance costs are associated with each specific piece of equipment. That's about the industry standard for that.
thank you for clarifying.
You bet.
So, Mary, roughly what's the cost of each trip?
Round trip,
I got some of this information you
Okay.
gave me, and you tell me if it's right. You put down for one of the semis, it's $1,600 a month. And for the canister truck, it was $1,500 a month, is what you were.
yes. So that would be about, and that's based on 5 trips a week. So $1,600 a month, 4 weeks a month. That's $400 a week, $200 a trip.
Okay.
I will move that we grant the restructure request of the Public Works Department as presented by Mary, along with combining the position into a full-time administrative assistant slash operator position as presented.
Yes, Al?
Yes, Alan Wright. I guess, you know, by listening to what was being said here, as far as revenue that are being brought in, it's kind of like the highlight because we're in our prime construction season. And depending on what, through the winter months, this new full-time position would cost as far as what revenue would be brought in. And I guess one of the other things I have a question of is, because of our form of government that we have, our local government, is administrator applicable to our local government? Within?
What are you?
Well,
in there?
because we have a constitutional form of government for our local government. And we went through this with Elaine and Laura and Elaine Mann a few years back.
Elaine Gravely.
Oh, excuse me. And it was not applicable. That term is not applicable to our local government.
I'm not asking for an administrator. I'm asking for an administrative assistant.
Oh,
Yes.
are you considered as our administrator?
No,
Oh.
I'm not. Any number, there are a number of administrative assistants. They
Right, but
help
I-
with
okay.
administrative duties.
Because actually, I was gonna ask that question along the way,
Yeah, no, I'm not an
Okay.
administrator.
but I always did not. Okay.
Okay.
Pardon me.
Yes,
Mr.
Debbie?
I just have a quick question. You ran so many numbers, I was trying to keep track. Is this a 40-hour week job or
It's 35,
35?
yes.
So the motion's been made to approve this request. Is there a second?
I will second with a question, please.
Okay.
So I guess, tell me what you feel that person will be doing from the road department side of things.
So I have the PubWorks software, data entry, lots of data entry, running reports, because what I want to figure out is I want to be able to give you, when I come in and ask for any number of things, I mean, I can't think of what I would ask for right now, off the top of my head.
Well, I think it's
But-
going to help you in knowing what your cost
It
per mile
is.
is to maintain roads. and
Exactly.
Things like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm looking at that. I do have to deal with the approach permits that we have and deal with the issue of unpermitted approaches that we have right now. One very large task is to have someone come in, scan, and then catalog all of the approved approach permits that we have in the county right now. I don't have a log of those anywhere, and I really need one so that I can look and see where these are, and compare that to what we have for unpermitted, unapproved approaches, and determine what course of action we need to take for that.
I know a project that we talked about earlier in the year was GPS on all of our culverts
Yes.
and things like that. Would you
Yes.
envision this person being able to do something like that?
I do, especially, you know, depending upon whether we have an open winter like some people are saying, or whether or not snow starts flying in October. I do, because things will slow down in solid waste. There's a lot of work that, in solid waste, that administrative work that I would like this person to do. But by the same token, if we do have an open winter, that is another area, that's another task that I would like this person to be able to do.
Do you still think that you're going to need a road superintendent at some point?
I don't know if superintendent is the right word. I don't know if that's gonna describe what it is that I think we need.
Okay.
So the motion's been made and seconded to approve this request for operating administrative attendant assistant. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
One thing that I do need to talk to Mary about is to make sure that we follow our process as far as for advertisement. I think Michelle Edmonds gave us some suggestions
Right.
as far as for,
I have a meeting scheduled with
okay,
Michelle.
that we advertise it correctly and all of that.
Mhm,
Veterans preferences is one of the big things that she mentioned.
mhm,
It gets overlooked a lot of times.
mhm.
And so make sure that we follow that process
Right.
correctly.
Yep, you bet.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mary, are you planning to advertise in-house though first?
Yes.
I would strongly
And,
recommend that.
yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
We move on to Mike Conkey, DES grant plan to purchase used sheriff's vehicle for DES.
Commissioners, you have that handout I gave you this morning?
Yep.
Should be handed out soon. Did you get one? Oh, several months ago, Montana DES sent out a notice of funding opportunity, and I visited with you a little bit briefly about that time. What this is, some federal funds that are left over from the different counties in the Emergency Management Performance Grant Program, and then the counties that didn't spend all their allotment, they turn it back to the state, and other counties can apply. I applied. I have $6,000 in my CIP for the purpose of buying a DES vehicle. And then I got that grant, came in. We have not accepted that grant. That's what we're here today to do. I propose that we purchase a used vehicle from the Sheriff's Office. The information's there. This is the vehicle that was used by retired Captain Seth Winslow, 4-door. And let's see, mileage, blue book, and then the match on funding there. And then the second page of what I gave you this morning is that grant application that we submitted to Montana DES back in, I think it was in June, May or June, I can't remember.
Is the mileage proportional to the runtime? I mean, has this vehicle been, Brandon was talking about it running all the time, is this thing?
It's been, it was in patrol for probably 2 years, and then it went to administrative vehicle, so it's not been a patrol vehicle like the other ones, so it's, I would say, a little bit more, but nothing like our patrol cars. This is a truck that Sheriff Ludwig drove, I think, the last 2 years of her career, so kind of it went.
Parked over here on the side street across from the detention center. North Walnut.
So what vehicle do you use now, Mike? To do
My
your,
personal
to do
vehicle.
You use your personal vehicle?
I do for responding. At times I have checked out a vehicle from the motor pool. And the difficulty with that is if I take it out like on a flood, then when I turn that back in, I have to take time to clean that out, get the mud out of it, wash it. And then if I get called out again the next day, do the same thing. What most of the county DES coordinators have done is they have a vehicle that's assigned to them that you can put plans, laptop, computer, phones, two-way radio and stuff in there, so that if you evacuate the courthouse, you've got all that resource with you, that stuff with you. Or you end up in the southern end of Broadwater County and stuff. Right now I've just been using my vehicle.
Does our insurance cover you while you're using your vehicle, the county insurance?
Mine does, yes.
No, does the county's insurance cover you?
As a county employee, yes, if I turn it in.
No, you're missing my question. Do you know if our county insurance will cover you if you're involved in an accident? Will it pay for your vehicle?
If I'm using my personal vehicle? No, my insurance company pays for that.
That's right.
It's a risk I take every time I drive out. It's not a high priority, but it's just we had an opportunity for a funding application. I've been advised, all the department heads have been advised to apply for federal grants.
Mike, if I may, I have a question for Brandon. Hey, Brandon, I understand this is different than the other vehicles that you guys have given like to extension last year. This vehicle has not been used as a patrol vehicle. It's still a viable vehicle with a strong blue book, as I see here. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And that's why it would make sense for we talked this morning, Mike, for you to use a federal grant and match it to purchase this vehicle, because you guys would be selling it, not looking to get rid of it because it's such high miles and it's been so hard used, correct?
And you know, to add on to that, Mike is always out in the field. We see him on fires, all kinds of emergencies. You know, he's bringing water to people, food. Another thing is this vehicle is equipped with emergency lights. We do have to take out the blue lights, but we can leave some red lights in it, work out something with the radio. And then he's not having issues getting past the road closure or anything like that. He can identify himself and get in to assist us. With the other part of your question, yes, this wouldn't be a vehicle we would really normally get rid of at this time, but I think due to our budget shortfall, this would really help us out and help him out, help us. So I think it's an all-around good situation for the county.
Thank you for that. Mike, thanks for doing your homework on that. I appreciate the answers.
Thank you.
I think this is a good plan. I don't have any more questions.
So is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, I'll make that motion, that we approve the purchase of the 2010 Ford F-150 using the grant and the funds that Mike has saved.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Brandon.
So this is Nicole's. Nicole Brown, appointment of tax appeal board member.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a vacancy on my tax appeal board. I currently have 20 tax appeals that my county tax appeal board needs to hear. I do have one applicant, Jeff Longlinay. And so I would like you to consider appointing Jeff Longlinay to the county tax appeal board. In my letter I prepared, which you do not have to sign, but I want to explain myself. I do have 2 years on here, but it's an expiration of 2020. So he would essentially serve on 2 terms of tax appeal board hearings potentially.
Okay, is that the normal, excuse me, the normal term?
Normally first year is 1 year, but that's also, we appoint them in January.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm happy to change it. I just wanted to explain myself. I did
No,
put 2 years
that's
on
fine.
here.
And this will give you a full board, right?
This
So
will
you
give me
can
a
move
full board.
forward with some of these issues here?
Correct.
Gotcha.
So would he finish out this year, then we have to reappoint him in January, or he would be January of 2021?
Yes, January 2021.
I'm grateful that somebody of Jeff's caliber is willing to step up and help us out. So huge thanks to him. Thanks also to you for reaching out to somebody again of that caliber. So I will move that we appoint Jeff Longlinay to the Tax Appeal Board for 2 terms, as described by Nicole.
Is there a second?
Second that motion.
Motion been made and seconded to appoint Jeff Langus to the tax appeal board. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
you have who is all on the board then now with this new appointment?
Currently, Jeff Joffrey and Chris Wright.
What's the name?
Chris Wright.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Do you have a meeting, do they just meet like once a year, or?
We meet as needed. This year, obviously, there's a strong need, so October 3rd is our hearing date.
Thank you.
Are they open to the public?
Yeah, they certainly are. Do you want a copy? I do. You can just put it on your desk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nicole.
That's it for agenda items. We'll go back to the mail. See, first off, we have minutes of September 3rd, 2019.
I'll move that you accept the minutes from September 3rd, 2019.
Second.
Motion been made, accepted, and seconded to accept the minutes of September 3rd, 2019. All in favor? Opposed, same. Motion carries. We have a pile of claims. first approved claims in the amount of $40,086.87.
I will move to pay the approved claims in the amount of $40,086.87.
Second. Motion been made and second to pay the approved claims in said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Payroll claims for 8/30/19 in the amount of $182,593.97.
It's payroll? Is that right, Mike?
What's that?
The
Payroll,
payroll.
yes.
I'll move that we pay the payroll claims in the amount of $182,593.97.
Second.
Motion made and second to pay claims in said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Payroll claims 9/13/19 in the amount of $185,122.10.
I'll move to pay payroll in the amount of $185,122.10.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second to pay claims in said amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Approved claims in the amount of $2,379.
I move we pay claims in the amount of $2,379.
I second the motion to pay the approved claims.
Motion made, second to pay the claims and approve amount. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
This is a Department of Public Health and Human Services Task Order Contract 27501004. Review and sign for the contract between Public Health and Department of Health and Human Services.
This is just a one-year task order, correct?
Yes.
I'll move to pay the task order as presented.
Is there a second?
No, second.
Motion been made, second to play the contract between the Department of Public Health and Human Services and Broadwater County Health Services. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. Okay, let's see. Federal Licensing Incorporated for renewal of our license. For somebody to pay somebody to process our license. And we have DEQ. This postcard to notify you that the Montana Department of Environmental Quality has proposing to amend ARM 175213 and 175216 pertaining to motor vehicle recycling and disposal. Inspection Permit Solutions, spec to go, cloud-based initiative.
On this federal licensing, this is for the radio system, so this should be given to the sheriff's office.
And I think that that's the one that we go through. They send us that every year when It's another fee that it's not the federal government.
Right,
right.
yeah. We should be getting some of this also for the TV, but this is not that.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted to bring it to your attention.
This is a card from the Broadwater County Farm Bureau, is 100 years old. Cordially invited to the Broadwater County Farm Bureau Centennial Celebration, Sunday, September 29th, 2019, to 1 p.m. at the Lodge in Townsend. DEQ, public notice for application for a groundwater pollution control system, Fox Crossing 3 Homeowners Association. DEQ, on October 22nd, 2019, the Department of Environmental Quality will hold a public hearing to consider proposed amendments to the administrative rules of Montana 173660 pertaining to nutrient standard variances. The amendments are necessary to incorporate by reference proposed changes to department curriculum DEQ 12B, DEQ 12B. Rural Montana Magazine. Another Broadwater County health alert. Once again, concerning vaping and all the wonderful things that has to do with everybody. The Montana Department of Revenue statewide school mill levies for fiscal year 2020. And this is a map that was forwarded to us by the city that shows new sidewalks that the Department of Transportation is putting in with no cost to the city or the county. There's 140 feet in front of the courthouse and the detention center. And then blocks to the east are also getting some needed replacements in the sidewalk in town. That's it for mail. Is there anything else to come from the commission?
I have a couple of things. Do you too,
Okay.
Darrell? Did I
No,
see you move forward?
go for it.
I got a call from FWP. They do the washouts of the boats, the clean, drain, dry stations. Last year, they stored their equipment at the silos, and they would like permission to do that again. I told him, of course, I'd bring it to you guys for a full commission approval or not. I don't see anything that hurts us.
Where do they store that?
Like this, down at the silos. And it's just kind of off to the side there. It's not in the way, you don't even know it's there, unless you're purposely looking for it.
I'd be in favor of them storing it there. I don't have a problem with
Perfect, three S's. All right. And I will let him know this morning, or this afternoon, and send an email so that he's aware. And then two issues I wanted to bring forward just for discussion. And this, Darrell, you brought this up in email, so I wanted to bring it forward. Anytime we have somebody who comes to us and says, I'd like a tax rebate or I'd like my taxes forgiven, we have an obligation to research it, find out what the details are, and then move forward according to what the law says we can or cannot do. So there was an email that the commission had asked for some resolutions requested by the commission. I was not aware of this, so I was kind of surprised. So any of those requests need to come to us first by law, and then we take it to the next step as a team. So what we have is, I'm just gonna, well, I'll deal with Raidersburg first. We do not have a request for tax forgiveness from the Raidersburg School, the Raidersburg Historical Association yet, that I have seen or has come through a public meeting. In order for us to even address that, we have to be given that request. And that is, I printed the title from Doug, and it is 1516-603. I also brought my law book if you guys want to look at it. So we really can't do anything until they come forward with a request. I'm not sure of the status of that one yet. If you guys are, please share. Anything on that?
I guess I'm trying to think back. I know Bill Lane came in, you remember Bill Lane coming in?
He's not with Raidersburg, he's
No,
Toston, and that's
Toston.
separate.
And I thought, I thought I remember that.
Deb and Alan did last
Deb and
year, but
Alan came in?
not this
Did I
year,
come in?
that I am aware of.
I guess I can't remember, I'd have to go back and look at our,
I looked at the minutes for the one meeting I missed because I was at the National Association of Counties meeting, and it is not there. So, we just need a formal request, if they've even been denied. I don't know the status of that at this point. Again, if you guys do, please share. So with the Toston issue, and that would be Bill Lane, he did come in. We do have a letter here from Department of Revenue, and what it says is, processing this has been completed on the above referenced application and regretfully exemption is hereby denied. The evidence submitted did not support exemption as outlined in Part 2, Chapter 6, Title 15 MCA as amended, and I brought that as well. So, they didn't apply in a way that the law allowed for them to be exempt. Why not? What can they do? So, I understand that the church has a basement that's falling in. It should be possibly condemned. So I called Department of Revenue and I asked them just a series of questions. What ifs? What can we do? What have other counties done? They were extremely helpful. But what we need is a plan from the folks in Toston. What I think we need to do is go to the Board of Health. If there is a condemnation issue with the building, we need to address that. Perhaps Bill Lane can come to the next meeting or the meeting after that. I will not be at the next meeting. I have Youth Justice Council this week. Also, we don't have a formal request for tax forgiveness. We have a verbal request. We need a letter to comply with that piece of it. And then the last thing is the resolution we have states in the title of erroneous property taxes, and then in the body says, as a result of an error in the assessment. Well, there isn't an error in the assessment. There's an error in the application, perhaps, and that's where putting together a plan, we can assist these folks to have what they need to actually be able to get the tax forgiveness. My problem with just assuming and putting into a resolution that this is an error by Department of Revenue is we shouldn't be using the power of the county or our positions to jab it at Department of Revenue. We have a lot of reasons that we can be upset with DOR, the Heidecker decision, the centrally assessed last year, changing the valuations at the last minute. These things, missing properties, missing assessments that we have to pay for. These are all things we have a right to gripe about and we have a right to address. This is not their error, and if we start putting into resolutions blame to just make a state agency look bad, we lose all credibility when we do have a real gripe. So I think these need to be redone, these resolutions need to be redone, and we need to include just the facts of the situation. And we need to follow the code. And if you guys want to review this or print out your own, it's 1615-6201. And again, I brought my book if you don't want the copied code. Any questions on that and how we should move forward or shouldn't move forward
Do we
yet?
want Bill to come to the Board of Health meeting?
I think that would be really good. I think he needs to come with a plan. So if the church is in danger of falling down, as a nonprofit, the law allows, and I'm not going to say how because I don't have that memorized, but there are provisions in the law that they could actually give that to another nonprofit or a government agency, like the fire district perhaps, to do a fire training. But what Department of Revenue said is there's still value to the land. So if they're going to use the land in a way that complies with law, then they can get the tax exempt status. Or if they're a group that's no longer meeting, maybe they sell it and get their group going again, or they can give that revenue or that property to another nonprofit, maybe one that follows their same mission. So there's a lot of different things they could do. I would suggest that after we get a viable plan and a formal request, that we forgive the taxes for this year and then move forward. But I don't think we should just every year forgive the taxes as an automatic knee-jerk without following the provisions in MCA. And without a plan. We need the P word.
Okay, so you're kind of thinking that this is more of just a request for forgiveness rather than an error.
That is absolutely correct. There is not an error on Department of Revenue's part for this one.
So if we grant this request to not tax, do we have to do that every year?
Well, my suggestion is we would do it for one more year with a plan. And the plan would spell out how they are going to make sure they comply with the law so that they are automatically exempt by Department of Revenue in the first place. It shouldn't keep coming back to us, because what happens to the county is we get the numbers from revenue that says, okay, your evaluation is such and such and you have this amount of money for your departments. And then when we get these back-ended requests for tax forgiveness, or if there were an error at Department of Revenue, that money comes out of the money we budgeted for. So we really need to have this taken care of on the front end. So I would suggest the plan is necessary for the long-term forgiveness of those taxes. Or if they don't comply in any provision of MCA, what is their plan for dispersing of the property or the asset?
Okay. And as far as Rayersburg, well, they just need to send us a formal request.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. And it's my understanding, last year and from previous conversations, that they may not have had the correct paperwork. Again, perhaps we can help with that, make sure they have the paperwork that they need. If they don't have it, maybe we can find it for them. I don't think there's any reason we can't help these folks, but that has to be part of the plan too. So we'll forgive it this year, but what's your plan for next year and moving forward?
Okay.
So I have one more if you're ready for me to move forward. So we do have a legitimate error by Department of Revenue, which is why I wanted to bring this one up after the other one. This is in your district, Darrell, and it's the Thornton property, which is the big house on the Jefferson River. So here is her letter. I think this went to the commission's email. This has a bunch of information in it, pretty interesting stuff, but they built a dog house. And they've been taxed for their dog house property. She's gone to the Department of Revenue. They said, yes, this is an error. I think we could all agree with that. So this is a Department of Revenue error. They have been overtaxed, and part of it is because of a dog house. The records show far more square footage than they have. Part of it is because of the dog house. So I went to Doug, and I went to Department of Revenue, did my due diligence, the research into this to figure out what are the things we need to know. It appears, and this is from 15/16/603, again from Doug, a refund may not be granted unless the taxpayer files a written claim with the Board of Commissioners. And so that's what I was talking about before. This has to be done within 10 years of the error first being found. However, the next section, which is subsection 3B, the refund required must be made for 5 tax years or for the duration of the error, in this case 10 plus, whichever period is shorter. So the law only allows us to give the last 5 years refund for the overpayment. But this is one I do feel we should go ahead and put together and have on the agenda for next week, if that's good. Well, 2 weeks from now, if that's good with you guys.
Okay.
And I'd be happy to email Julie and let her know that's our plan. She doesn't have to be here. She's, again, this is pretty substantial what she's provided. Department of Revenue has concurred, and this is from Doug.
Can you share that with us later on?
Yeah, again, I think it was sent to the commissioner's email, but I will go ahead and forward this to both of you so you have your own copies.
Okay.
And this was, took me a couple weeks, so it was beginning of August 28th is when Paulette DeHart responded to Doug's request. And that is all I have, other than I will be gone this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we have Youth Justice Council on Tuesday, and then the annual Montana Board of Crime Control retreat, Wednesday and Thursday in Fort Benton.
Anything else?
I don't know how important this is, but I think this came up at our department head meeting. There was a discussion on, now that it's hunting season, about animal waste and how I wish Mary was here to talk about this a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't the determination that it's okay to dispose of the carcass if they put it in the plastic bag?
Yeah, as long as you put it in the plastic bag, you can take it to the canisters.
Right. Otherwise, take it.
Otherwise, you gotta take it up to the transfer station. Anything else?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so there will be no meeting next week. We have Mako conference in Great Falls. The next commission meeting will be September 30th. Anybody else have anything else?
Mike, may I
Yes.
ask a question? Shirley Wilson, rumor has it on the street that the day the internet went down, there was no phone service in the courthouse or perhaps the hospital. Is that true?
I had phone service.
What day was that?
I can't tell you, but don't we have only Blackfoot service at the courthouse? And the day the internet was down, was there phone service here?
I don't believe I was here.
I'm trying to think, Shirley, I think it was intermittent phone service, but it wasn't real good, no, I agree.
So do we maybe need to retain a landline or something?
We do have some.
And what about the sheriff's office? Were they in the same predicament?
We had some issues, yep, and they've been identified, and I think Mike Meyer is working out a solution for that.
Do you want me to speak to that, or?
Sure, go ahead.
I do. I'd like
Yeah,
to.
so we, in our 911 center, our Blackfoot lines did go down. We do have CenturyLink lines as well in there. They went down. Our computers went completely out, so the solution to that is we're going to keep, and you have two consoles, dispatch stations, so one's gonna stay CenturyLink with CenturyLink phone lines, the other one Blackfoot, so if one goes out, you have the other, if that one goes out, you have the other, and that's kind of our solution, so.
I think that's a good solution.
There's no other thing, we will adjourn at 11:32. Yes, Alan?
Yes, I just have a question that's pertaining to the growth plan. Has that committee or come up with any type of a draft that the public can see for the county-wide?
The draft for the floodplain has been completed, and that's up in the clerk and recorder's office for you to look at. But that's all that's been done. We're still working on the CIP and the growth policy, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, they're still working on both of them.
Is there any way a person can, how do they present that information that where they're at this point to the public? Can someone, do they have something you can read, look at?
Well, I think he's gonna go through and do a preliminary, and then they'll be, I believe there's set up for three public meetings on the growth plan once it's developed, the rough draft, and then we'll have public meetings on that, and that's all being set up by Great West Engineering and the planning board.
So that is when, that's, at that point in time is when the public input is put into
Yeah,
it?
yep,
Okay.
okay. So we will adjourn at 11:34.